Hello, everyone. Welcome back to D1 Crashout, in which this one's an actual crashout of mine. There is a place for judgment. People make judgment such a negative thing, and I get why. People don't like being judged. People don't like being told what to do. People don't like feeling like they're bad people or that they're doing something wrong, but it's there so you can hone reasonably, like actionably, if you are not only surrounding yourself with people who have the same values as you, but if you as an individual are valuable. It's like people were like, oh, I wonder what this one's gonna think of me. I wonder how this person feels about me and all that stuff. And I'm like, let them judge you. And people will tell you how they feel about you and your actions. Like when you ask for advice, that's exactly what they're doing. And you know what? You might not like the advice. You might not like what they have to say, but that's still something which is beneficial for you because it's telling you how they think, how what their values are, how they view the world. And that's an expression of honesty. That's what judgment is. And if it always lines up with what people think their societal values are, then it lines up with what they think their societal values are. Like that's what they value, that correctness, that feeling, that righteousness. It's something that I personally do a lot. I always like feeling like I'm right. I like feeling like people can agree to me, or at least that I'm confident enough in myself that I believe in the things that I say genuinely. And I like hearing what other people have to say, not necessarily because I'm going to radically change my views just because somebody tells me something, but because what they have to say gives me a larger perspective and helps me have a better context for life in general. So that's food for thought. But I don't think that judgment is inherently a bad thing. Judgment is a bad thing when it's misplaced and you're impressionable. As in, like, if I am an authority figure and I tell ones like, oh, all those little ones, oh, you guys should be like really loud and noisy, and that just makes them into more disruptive people and causes more chaos and creates more problems. Like that's a bad place for judgment, you know. But hopefully, you're in environments where things aren't so harsh that if somebody judges you, then you just break down, or if somebody judges you, then your life is all over and you realize you're in a really bad environment that you're stuck in, which frankly sucks. But if you're hearing a bunch of people cast judgment on something, like, oh wow, I hate the Kardashians and what they did with X, and you like really love the Kardashians, like that's your sign to be like, maybe I'm different than these people, and either you align your values with them or you don't, and you change groups and surround yourself with different people. So judgment is another way for people to represent their brand and what they think, right? It's just a form of expression. Unfortunately, when you put yourself out there and you go on social media, or you have just a position of power or leadership, or like you have to put your resume out there if you want to get a job, you're opening yourself up to judgment, to criticism. And if you have the right to talk to people, they also have the right to judge you. And unfortunately, you people go out in public a lot. That's kind of mandatory to, do almost anything. And that means that you're open to criticism and judgment, even if you weren't asking for it, which sucks. Yes, it is a necessary evil. And I feel like most people just treat judgment inherently as a problem, right? People who are really judgy and they always judge each other, and you always feel like there's so much pressure to be around them, which sucks. Yes. And sometimes you want to just have a low stakes environment and you don't always want to have to be perfect 100% of the time, which is completely fair. But if those people are always judging you and you don't like that, that is your turn to judge them and then take action. Hopefully you don't feel like you are stuck with the friends that you have, even though that is very much a very probable reality. Right? You are in control. Even if you feel like your friends are forced, right? You can just hold people at arm's length and think things can be awkward and difficult, or you can be fake and you can play within their expectations, and that might help you. There's a lot of convolution, there's a lot of difficulty in just living life in general, but the bottom line is you control your circumstances. People can do whatever they want and judge you, and it sucks, but that's just a part of life. That's a lived experience, and people reserve the right to judge you just as much as you have the right to judge them and have thoughts and will and think. And I think a really good example of this being very extreme is Japan, where everyone just says things behind closed doors, and it might be really unproductive because there is no feedback loop. There's no system to tell you if you are right or wrong within this group. Everyone acts in this common accordance to the same, and that might be good for a lot of people. I mean, it's clearly doing fine for Japan, even if depression rates are at an all-time high. But that's neither here nor there. I don't have a frank or good objective argument about whether or not there should be judgment. But if there is a place that does have judgment and criticism of people, It is for a reason, and it has a purpose, and your perspective on it can help dictate how you not only feel about it, but also how you use it. Because it might be a criticism of you. Do you really have to please every single person? Like, there's people who have radically different views, and you can judge them accordingly, and they're going to judge you in a certain way. So it's up to you to curate whose opinions actually matter. Okay. That is what I have to say about judgment. Let's move over to comparison. I am going to say very strongly that comparing yourself to other people, as motivational as it might be, is fruitless as an endeavor. And what do I mean by that? It doesn't help you get to your goals, even if it motivates you, right? Hopefully, people who are really well achieving are showing you what is possible. And that comparison, along with education and following in their footsteps, helps you to become a person that is more like the person that you are idolizing, that you want to be. But that might help you actually develop and get closer to your goals, right? Like, oh, I took my favorite player's crosshair, or there's this person that is working in a really cool startup and they're giving us advice on something I want to do. Like, that is great. And comparing yourself to those people, not as much, is different than taking advice from them and wanting to follow in their footsteps. Sure, you are inherently recognizing that you are not them, and therefore you want to take similar actions to them in order to get in their position. That makes perfect sense. But comparing yourself to, like, for me, Noah Lyles, and like, wow, he's so fast and he's so accomplished and he's on top of the world, of the sprints world, and I wish I could be him. And I'm gonna beat myself up because I don't have his marks at the same marks that he did when he was X age. I'm like, no, that doesn't help me get to my goal. That doesn't train. That doesn't make me work out, right? Like, I choose whether I work out or not. Whether or not I need to beat myself up comparing myself to Noah Lyles in order to work out or not is partly up to me, but is a very fundamental idea. Comparison, it doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't get you the job that you need. If you get drive, if you get motivation for it, great. But I just saw a reel on this actually. It's not going to propel you towards your goals. And I see it a lot because I'm in college, and frankly, I'm not going to like a top 20 school. I'm not going to a target college for computer science. But, I'm learning just like everybody else. And I'm not some YC startup finder. Like, there's some guy who's like 21 and he's making millions right now. And he did like this this startup challenge, like 30 startups in 30 days. And he didn't get past the first 5 because they were too successful. And he sold all of them and started working on them. And that's crazy. And that person is around like my age group. And, I could be here and I'd be like, wow, I suck. I'm not doing that. I'm at my school doing research. I'm still learning, and I'm still in school, and I'm not a dropout who got into YC. But that doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't think I'm ready to do a startup right now. And I know I say things like, you never are going to feel ready, and it's never going to feel right. But like right now, in my best interest, man, I just want to learn. I just want to get educated, and I like the current social circles that I'm in, and it makes me happy, and I'm supported by the people around me. Like, why would I throw it all away to take a huge risk when I don't want to? And I think that's where the comparison and living a life of somebody else kind of gets put out of proportion, or yeah, it's a little bit out of place, because you are not that other person. You are not living their life. You are not going to get their exact same circumstances, which includes the time in which they found their achievement, right? Like, you can't just make their startup and expect the same success. Like, they got their startup because it was novel. And that's where they got their money and their funding, because they proved their idea. And it's not going to work the same because the market is more saturated now. And, well, it's not the same, right? You are not somebody else. So as much as comparison is a very natural tool that people make because you need to judge your worth relative to other people, like, you're going to be rewarded for being better than other people at certain things. We're all human and living our own lives. And even if you cannot control the comparison, it is good to be able to reframe your mind to be like, okay, this comparison is one thing and it doesn't actually help me get to my goals. I can take inspiration from people. I can even take advice from people, but always recognize that you are not the person that you are looking for inspiration from, that you quote unquote want to be. Try to become the person that you want to be. And I believe that it is best to do that from your own life, from living your own story and adapting what you want to be to fit you in your life context, right? So how you go about that, super vague, doesn't give you instructions or support at all, but that is everything to say that there is a firm place for comparison and judgment, and it is not in immediately changing your life and forcing yourself to be a certain person and putting that pressure on yourself to become someone. It's unrealistic, right? No matter how much I compare myself to Noah Lyles, I will never magically become Noah Lyles. There's some immutable qualities about him that will automatically make me not him. But it's also the fact that I can judge myself as harshly as I want and put all this pressure on myself, and it's still not going to get me in the gym at the end of the day. It might motivate me to get in the gym, but I still choose whether or not I go to the gym and I work out and I train and I try to become a better version of myself. And how you motivate yourself is completely out of the scope of this video, but it is everything to say that sitting there on my phone and doom scrolling and looking at other people and how accomplished they are and how amazing they are doesn't get me out of the bed in the morning. And it also is most likely not going to give you that startup and that dream of everything that you ever wanted. So that's some food for thought. I think that there's a good place for judgment, and there's also a good place for comparison, right? It really is a great motivational tool, but that's about it. It's for motivation. It helps push you in the direction that you might want to go to, but it starts getting unproductive, and very quickly when you start putting that pressure on yourself that it has to be this way, that I have to become this certain person, that it has to work out, that you are my end all be all in order to grow as an individual. And whether or not you take every single piece and critique of somebody else's advice or somebody else's lifestyle or somebody else's judgment and you internalize that, or you just try to become your own person, is up to you. But take it with a grain of salt. Your life is not defined by the people around you. And that's the big point of this video. All right. That's about it. I'll see you guys next time.